Yo, what's up guys, and welcome back to episode 2 of Building with AIM. Now today we're going to be building a Zygarde balance, or going over my Zygarde balance team that I have built. Now, before we actually get into this episode, I want to say two things. One, this episode will not have any fancy graphics or any of that, just because I am pressed for time. And it's not necessary to have any of that. I just do it because I love the way it looks, and I think it just adds like a little bit of wow to the video. But it's definitely not necessary. And this episode will just be me going over the team on PO. So no slides, no any of that stuff. But the second thing I want to say is that after I built my Zygarde balance team by myself, I ended up playing my friend Blue, and she used her own Zygarde balance team and versus me. I didn't use my Zygarde team. She just said, "Oh, you want to see my Zygarde team?" And I said, "Okay." And she ended up having 5 out of 6 of the same members as me. And I was like, "Crap, man!" It took me a while to build this team too, because Zygarde's a Pokemon that I feel needs a lot of support. This is a balance team, or yeah, balance. This is balance. Balance is more so based on defensive backbones, more than offensive pressure, but it does have some pressure on the team. It's not complete stall. It's not bulky offense, because this is definitely not offense. This is balance. That's what balance is. Now, and I did end up changing a member on my team to actually match hers. So we actually have the same 6 Pokemon, different spreads, but we had 5 out of 6, which are Zygarde, T-Tar, Skarmory, Venusaur, and Heatran. We had the same Pokemon on our team, so I want to give her a shout out. I did not steal the team from her. No, I built it myself, and then she just happened to play with a team that has the exact same members. So I actually had something over Manaphy originally. I was testing Rotom Wash, but I found Manaphy to be a bit better. But maybe I'll be testing Rotom Wash as well. But in any case, guys, this is a Zygarde balance team. Now, Zygarde's a really cool Pokemon, being that it's really bulky. It has Dragon and Ground Stab, so, you know, similar to Garchomp. Not similar to Garchomp in the sense that it can run the same moveset, but similar to Garchomp in the sense that it has the same stab. And the set I wanted to focus on was actually the Sub-Coil set, just because after looking into it and thinking about it, this set is pretty nasty. The reason I actually thought of this set was because in Hita Fajita we played a Zygarde team, and I've actually seen Chimpact play a Zygarde team, and a Sub-Coil set actually did a lot of work versus him, so I wanted to try it out myself. I wanted to see what I could build when using Zygarde. Now, of course, this is a more serious build than anything on Hita Fajita, basically anything else on my channel, unless it's like for like World Cup, where I also build serious teams with my friends, but this was built by myself. And in any case, let's actually go over the Pokemon. Now, the first Pokemon we have is Zygarde. Now, the standard spread of Smogon actually says to run 56 speed investment and 252 speed def. However, I want it to be faster than Pokemon like Adamant Breloom, and then the standard Toxic Gliscor set that's at least on Smogon. It's not necessarily the standard one. I think if you're running Toxic Gliscor, you should run a hell of a lot more speed than this. But I want it to be faster than those. I want it to be faster than min speed Pokemon like Manaphy. I want it to be faster than Adamant Bisharp, and things like that, so that way they can't knock me off, obviously. And then some variants of Gliscor, though they definitely should not be running this slow, as well as Tyranitar that are you know, Mega before they Mega. I want to be faster than like a potential Ice Punching Mega T-Tar, so before it Mega Evolves, obviously. So the sets we are running, of course, is the Sub-Coil Earthquake Dragon Tail set. Now this set is really bulky. With this spread, you have the 101 HP substitutes, which means that Pokemon like Chansey, they take 2 Seismitoss's to break your sub, not 1, which is great because this set can set up on stall for days. With the Spadef investment, this thing is can set up on Pokemon like Venusaur, as well as even Rotom Wash. Their Hydro Pump / Giga Drains don't always break the sub, and you have way more subs than they have Hydro Pumps. Mega Venusaur actually really does struggle to break your sub, even with the max roll on an offensive set is basically one of the few ways they could break your sub. A defensive set is not breaking your sub at all. So you could sub and coil up. This set is actually really nice because it shuffles your opponent's team, and it beats Pokemon like Skarmory, because Skarmory cannot whirlwind you out while you can Dragon Tail them out. Obviously, you're not going to be doing too much because it is a Skarmory. However, you do prevent it from phasing, and you combine that with Hazard, you combine that with Stealth Rock. You combine that with the fact that maybe Skarmory's item might have gotten knocked off, or maybe it's running Shed or something, so you're not taking anything, or maybe even Rocky Helmet, which isn't necessarily good for you, but at the same time, it's worse for Skarmory because it doesn't have the leftovers recovery, so you can stall it out of that. And I thought the set was really cool, just because its ability to set up on a lot of fatter teams. This Zygarde is really good versus fatter teams, not necessarily versus more offensively based teams of like Weavile, Keldeo, things like that, just because they all threaten you. Thundurus, all of them all threaten you. Though you can eat an HP Ice from Thundurus, you can eat a Specs Hydro Pump from Keldeo pretty convincingly. It is a 2-hit KO though, of course, because it is a Keldeo. But Zygarde's a really cool mon. Doesn't have that good of an ability in OU, but maybe that'll change, you know, when we get the Z or whatever's coming out next. But in any case, I wanted to use Zygarde in this set I'm using. And Subcoil, pretty, you know, makes sense. You obviously sub, you dodge the Toxic and all that stuff. The potential Will-O-Wisp from Rotom, it just allows you to set up on it. And defensive Landers is easily set up on and outsped. After a couple coils, it can't break your sub. Coil, of course, raising the accuracy of Dragon Tail, not only the power and also your defense, but also raising the accuracy. Raise your accuracy. And after a coil, this set can actually set up on on the defensive standard Garchomp. Dragon Tail actually does not break your sub after a coil, if I am not mistaken. I could be wrong. We're actually going to run a calc right now, just to be sure, but I'm pretty positive it does not break your sub. But I'm actually going to do the calc. A little bit unprofessional, but Subcoil, +1 defense, Garchomp with no attack investment, standard tank chomp. Yeah, Dragon Tail does 22 to 27%, so it's a roll to break your sub, which is in your favor. Well, actually, it's a complete 50% chance, because 22, 23, 24, 25... Yeah, it needs a higher roll to break your sub, so that's good. You coil up twice and it can't break your sub, which means it can't phase you out with Dragon Tail either. You can Dragon Tail them or just Earthquake them for more damage. That way you don't have to take the Rough Skin and Rocky Helmet. Now, the next Pokemon that I wanted to pair it with was Thundurus, or what? Tyranitar, because it can trap Pokemon like Thundurus. It can get rid of them, which can be threats to Zygarde. It also traps the Lotties. And the Lotties are one of the few Pokemon that can threaten Zygarde with, you know, a super effective move like Draco Meteor that can KO them. So Tyranitar was just next on the team for me, because not only does it get rid of Thundurus as well as checks Thundurus on this team. Thundurus is actually a huge problem for balance. I think Scarftar is like a staple on most balanced teams, just because Thundurus is that much of a threat. And it also checks Pokemon like +2 Bisharp, which I can go for Super Power, and it also checks Birds as well as Talonflame and things like that. Not that it really threatens Zygarde too much, or even Heatran, which I do have later on in the team, but always good to have that check, especially for Pokemon like Bisharp. Now I'm actually going to pause it real quick, guys. I'll be right back because I'm a little sick, so I gotta go sneeze. Alright, sorry about that, guys. But as I was saying, Tyranitar is just a good choice because it also can trap Pokemon like Mega Gardevoir, which gives Zygarde problems, obviously, because it is a fairy type. So you get a little bit of prior damage on that Gardevoir, which my entire team can hit for at least half with most of their attacks. Maybe a little bit less, but you can pursue trap them. And again, it's just a good check to Pokemon like Pinsir, Talonflame. You guys know what Tyranitar does. But it's mainly there just to prevent the defog from the Lotties. So maybe I make an aggressive double and bring that thing in, because I am running Zygarde, so I do want hazards to shuffle around my opponent. Though defog isn't always bad, just because this team is actually not running defog, as you guys will see. So I don't have hazard control on my team per se. However, Tyranitar is just a staple as well. Like I said, it traps the Lotties, prevents defogs, lets my hazards be up, which definitely pressure Pokemon like Keldeo, which is a huge threat to this team. A huge threat to this team, as well as Thundurus and, you know, Pokemon like Weavile and all those Pokemon that are just really offensive. It can definitely threaten all my Pokemon. The hazards, T-Tar is the what does Jam call him? He gives them like little names. T-Tar is the what would Jam call this? What would he call this? You know what, Jam? I forgot the name of what you would call T-Tar, but it's the Pokemon that saves my hazards, so the savior. I don't know what Jam calls it. Jam actually does a team loading series on his own channel, just like I do, and he likes to nickname his Pokemon like the deterrent if they blah 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 blah, or the savior, or the spinner. Not the spinner, but it's like the I don't know, like Starmie would be something like that. I don't know, maybe Tentacle, because Jambat loves Tentacle. But in any case, also something I forgot to mention, that I will be doing a live with this, which will be going up tomorrow. So the live with this team will be going up tomorrow. You guys get to see me. Now, the next Pokemon on my team, I noticed when you want to use Zygarde, you're weak to fairies. You also want a Spike stack. So 2 Pokemon automatically came to mind. Those Pokemon were Ferrothorn and Skarmory. I decided on Skarmory because it gives me a little bit of leeway versus Mega Gardevoir. It handles Mega Gardevoir a little bit better than Ferrothorn does. Though HP Fire is rising in popularity, so I believe modest HP Fire actually 2 KO Skarmory. However, I do have Iron Head as well to stop Diancie, which is a Pokemon that can threaten Zygarde, and allow me to get up Spikes. Now, the set I'm running is Roost, Spikes, Whirlwind, Iron Head. I am running a special defensive set. You can also run Taunt, I believe, if you want to. Maybe run a little bit more speed to taunt opposing Skarmory and stuff like that, and keep your hazards, as well as taunting Ferrothorn and stuff like that. But I really wanted I really wanted like a ground immunity, as well as the fact switching to not Zygarde, but Landorus T, as well as just a Pokemon that can get up hazards. I definitely threaten Gardevoir with the Iron Head. It's almost an OHKO. It's crazy how much Iron Head does to Gardevoir from a non-attack invested Skarmory, but it's almost an OHKO. And Skarmory just helps the team, supports it, gives me a Scizor check as well, which I can Whirlwind out. I can also it's a switch into Lotties. I have like 3 switches to Lotties on this team. I have Heatran, I have Skarmory, and I have Tyranitar. And Skarmory is just the go-to Pokemon. It can also take on Weavile reasonably well. After a knockoff, I can just roost off the damage and it'll be doing less. I do have to worry about flinches, of course, but that's Weavile. And it also checks Pokemon like Mega Metagross and just gives me those spikes and supports the Zygarde, because Zygarde, if it wants to be Dragon Tailing around, it appreciates the hazard support to rack up damage on your opponent's team and either go for the Zygarde win or repeatedly just obviously just weaken your opponent's team. For Tyranitar, T-Tar, the fastest Pokemon on my team, unfortunately, to clean up for like crunches or stone edges respectively. But this just gives me a switch into fairy types like Clefable, like Sylveon, Togekiss, not really Azumarill. I don't really want to be switching into Azumarill too much, but just fairy types in general, specifically Mega Gardevoir, and I can get up as many spikes as possible and just shuffle around my opponent's team. This can 1v1 non-roost Lotties anyway, because I can just roost all, obviously. And the next Pokemon on my team, I wanted another fairy switch in. I wanted something that could deal with Azumarill that threatens basically the 3 members that I have so far. A Water Resist, and that Pokemon was Mega Venusaur. Now, Mega Venusaur on sand isn't always the best thing, especially when you're really weak to Keldeo. This team is really weak to Keldeo. There are going to be some changes I'll talk about at the end if you want to change them. But Mega Venusaur was the go-to switching for fairies, for Clefable, things like that. Also is a good for Clefable check if it's unaware. I beat it 1v1 with Sludge Bomb. Giga Drain obviously also helps versus Rotom, helping Skarmory, and HP Fire just prevents Ferrothorn from doing much, as well as hitting Scizor. Not Skarmory though. Skarmory doesn't take anything from HP Fire, but it's mainly just for so Scizor cannot set up on me, as well as just this is one of my main switches to Ferrothorn because it can dodge the Leech Seed. This is also a Grass Resist as well as the Poison Resist, and this Pokemon is just hella bulky. The EV spread I gave it was just enough HP and defense. That way, Lopunny cannot 2-hit KO it with Return or Frustration after Stealth Rock. So Fake Out plus Return does not 2-hit KO it at all. So I believe the max damage was like maybe 86%. Maybe a little bit less than that, but in any case, this is my Mega Lopunny check. It's not 2 KO'd by anything from Mega Lopunny, and I can obviously Synthesis up, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain it. I gave it the special attack investment. I believe it was so I could do more with Sludge Bomb to Clefable. I believe I have the chance, if it's taking a little bit of prior damage, to 2 KO it even after a Calm Mind. However, that's not the point of the set. You should be running 0 attack investment because you're not running anything in attack. So this just means if you get confused, you hit yourself for less. Also makes Foul Play do more and things like that. But it's Mega Venusaur. It's not the best Pokemon to run on sand, especially because obviously the sand is going to get rid of how much my Synthesis, or it's going to determine how much I recover with Synthesis, as well as because this is my main Keldeo check And I say check because with the burn, with the sand, with the potential of me not synthesizing up, Keldeo is a huge problem to this team. So you can definitely run, get rid of these special attack and run it in Spadef, or run the standard spread that Smogon runs, which I don't know it off the top of my head, but I know it's more especially bulky, but that's completely up to you. In this sense, I think I might just put it all in Spadef just to take it. Not like I thought about the defense. That was the only thing I cared about in this for this spread. But in any case, look at that. If someone can optimize these EVs, that's completely fine as well. But in any case, that's why. Like if Calm gives me more, I forgot how it works off the top of my head. But if Calm gives me more, that's completely fine. But this is the spread I made, just to take on Megalopony and also Rotom and things like that. Just give it a little bit more speed than the standard defensive Venusaur. That way I can hit other Venusaur for more. Not that I really have a problem with Venusaur. Spadef Skarmory sets of spikes on it. I have Heatran as my next Pokemon that deals with it. But yeah, the HP Fire with the special attack investment actually can hit 2 KOs Ferrothorn 100% after a spike. Even after Leftovers recovery, but I might just be putting this with the Spadef right here. That way, it's easier to take Keldeo's hits. Not that's going to be that much easier, but you know, makes a little bit of a difference. Now, the next Pokemon on my team is going to be Heatran. I needed Stealth Rock. I wanted a better check to Clefable. I have 2 pseudo checks in Venusaur and Skarmory because I can hit them super effectively with Iron Head. One can phase out, the other one can crit. However, a Calm Mind Clefable can still be annoying. Now, Calm Mind T-Wave Clefable doesn't beat my team at all. Skarmory, Venusaur, and Heatran all wear it out. But a regular Calm Mind Clefable with potentially Fire Blast, Flamethrower, can definitely beat those two 1v1 after a couple boosts. So I wanted to add Heatran. I needed Stealth Rock. I also wanted a better Scizor check, as well as a Pokemon that can threaten Bisharp for more. And that's why I had Heatran. This Heatran, though, is different. I'm running max speed and max HP, and that's about it. The rest just dumped into Spadef. The reason I'm running max speed is because offensive SD Scizor, which is a thing, can completely dominate this team. It outspeeds and can OHKO Venusaur at +2 with Bug Bite after rocks, or at least come close. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of damage. And it can outspeed a regular defensive Tran, the standard defensive Tran that Smogon runs, or that anybody runs with like 66 or what is it, 88 speed, something like that, 68 speed, I don't even know. But that's why I run a max speed Tran. It's also Taunt Tran, which helps me taunt opposing Skarmory. It helps me taunt Clefable from Thunder Waving and setting up, and I can just Lava Plume it. Stalling it out, of course, of the Moonblast. And Toxic is just nice for Pokemon like the Lotties, and this also pseudo checks Zard Y, which also Tyranitar was on the team to check Zard Y. I just pivot into this on a fire move and then pivot around indefinitely. That thing is a monster for balance as well, but this also can check Zardex a little bit better as well alongside T-Tar, and I can Toxic it. Obviously, I have the max HP, so I'm missing out on not like any T-Tar, any Heatran runs physical bulk, not in OU anyway, in 6v6 meta and Smogon, but I guess you could if you wanted to check Dragon Clawing Zardex better, but this just gave me a way also to taunt opposing Heatrans. A lot of Heatrans don't actually run Earth Power right now, so I could taunt them, prevent them from getting up rocks on a double. And it was just a great Pokemon, a nice pivot for Lotties as well, a stall breaker with Toxic, and just supported the team a lot. Also helped me with that offensive Scizor weakness that I wanted to check, because this is especially defensive Skarmory, so +2 superpower is going to do a hell of a lot, if not OHKO after a bit of prior damage, especially because this thing is going to be pressured by fairy types, specifically Mega Gardevoir, which can deal with these. So the last Pokemon on my team, I actually changed it up. It actually was a different water type, and I was thinking about Latias also at the time. I was also thinking about Thundurus, because opposing Manaphy are threats. There's a lot of threats to this team, guys. Opposing Manaphy is a huge threat, especially if it has Psychic. Gardevoir is annoying, Mega Alakazam are annoying, but those are all just Pokemon that are really, really bad for balance in general. I could change it up, but then Zygarde doesn't do what I want it to do if I add Thundurus and if I add a better Keldeo check. And Latias is Pursuit Trapped anyway, so I would have to make doubles. So this team is nowhere near perfect at all, but the last Pokemon on the team is the Rest, Rain Dance, Calm Mind, Scalding Manaphy. Now, this Manaphy gives me a nice bird check, as well as a win con that can also deal with Zardex, can eat up hits, can eat up hits from Mega Metagross, and also Scizor and burn them. And actually with Heatran, or even with Scald, just Scald in general, it gives me a water resist though. It doesn't take hits from Keldeo too well. Unless the Rain Dance is up, I can rest stall it out. However, it's not 2-KO'd by Specs Future Sword, no, but I need Rain up in order for me to beat Keldeo 1v1, which is why Keldeo is such a huge threat to his team, Specs Keldeo. And it's not a great team, it's not a perfect team, but I will do my best to play around things, to outplay, as Jam has said. But the EV spread allows me to outspeed T-Tar before it Mega Evolves, allows me to outspeed Adamant Bisharp, Adamant Breloom, max speed Specs Magnezone, which is a thing. I've actually seen people run that, as well as Landers, stuff like that. I outspeed Landers and Rotom without any EVs in general, or at all. But in any case, we're running just max defense and 36 speed as for the reasons I mentioned. And after a couple combines, this thing could just definitely beat things 1v1. It has the potential to beat Clefable 1v1. Because of Rain Dance and Hydration, Clefable obviously won't be able to Thunder Wave me too much. If I get enough combines up with the Rain Boost, I actually do beat Clefable 1v1. I stall it out of Moonblast. Not that Clefable is too much of an issue because these Pokemon can all deal with it. But luckily, Clefable is always an issue. And I just wanted Manaphy. Blue actually used Manaphy versus me. I had a different Pokemon. I think I had Rotom last year. I was testing the slot. And I liked Manaphy the way it worked. Maybe I liked it because Blue just kept burning me with Scald, as does everyone. And it hasn't really worked out for me. But it also gives me just a nice pivot, a nice status absorber. It helps me beat Mega Sableye, though Zygarde can sit up on it. But it gives me that that status absorber that I really wanted. It also helps me with Spadef Gliscor, beating it 1v1 as yeah, I think that's the team. I think that's basically it. I don't have much else to say. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. I'll definitely be using the team in a live soon. So you guys will see it most likely tomorrow. Feel free to leave a like, of course, if you did enjoy. Now, again, this team is not perfect at all, but it's really hard to build with Zygarde, I feel. It reminds me of like Mega Galid. Myself and Jam were talking about this, but I don't know. In any case, we'll see how the team does. So hope you guys all enjoyed, and until next time. I actually tested it a couple times. It did fine. Except when Scald burns 100%. But yeah, it does have its issues. I'll leave the team in the description. And yeah, later guys.